Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Because I'm persecuted and they fume me and poison me all the time, this may very well be my last Christmas Eve and tomorrow my last Christmas ever, one way or another. And I'm glad that I did what I did. My life is far greater than everyone else's, far more worthwhile, infinitely so. Now, how did everyone else fail when I didn't? Well, part of it has to do with the idea of a white Christmas, right? Where Santa is Satan scrambled, Bel is the deity of merchants and sailors and rape by deception and storms and so on and so forth. And that has a lot to do with Christmas, right? The merchants, the weather, the deception, the psychology, the racism. So in order to solve the problems in society, right, we have to ask ourselves, what is it? What does it mean? And what should we do? Again, what is it? Right? Try to identify it. What does it mean? Right? What is happening as a result? Okay, what does it mean? What is the deeper meaning here? And what should we do? That's my point number one. Identifying the problem is important. That's why we need to talk about white culture. We need to identify the problem. What is white culture? Was almost every president white, right? White people are majority. They have a certain culture, right? It's where the fire department, the police, soccer moms, right? Fraternities, the military, and politicians, and corporate guys in suits, and it's just a part of it. That kind of core white culture. White culture as a central organizing principle. It's problematic. And there's a difference between having a culture and being, a race. Race and culture aren't the same. But culture can cultivate a race. Point number two, the system is the fruit of white culture. It's like the main fruit, right? What is the main fruit of white culture? Is it skating? Well, people just skateboard. So what? Ice skate, roller skate, that's not, that important, that big of a deal. Is it surfing? Is it riding a motorcycle? Is it country music? What is the main fruit of white culture? It's the system, right? It's the system of governance. And the way politics and the government basically control almost every culture. Okay, so they're all kind of white culture or trickle-down white culture here in America. So the system is the main fruit of white culture, and the system reflects whether or not white culture is good or bad. That's why so many white supremacists try to uphold the system, even on the left. Because they refuse to admit that their culture is wrong. There was a certain grouping of ideologies that went into the system, a certain philosophy, right? The early political parties, for example, the Federalist Party, the Whig Party, the Democratic Republican Party. Okay? They used to be merged together, Democrats and Republicans. Look it up. Psychology is something that came from philosophy, right? It was a branch of the field and the idea of philosophy. And white culture has everything to do with white psychology. Point number three. If you really care about God and your family and your people and your friends and your country, etc., then you're going to want to tell the truth about this, right? Someone said to me once, they said they want people to think of white people a certain way, and that was more important to them, apparently, than doing what's right. But you see, the two cannot coexist. Those two ideas can't come together. Either you tell them the truth about things and try to do what is exactly right, which is caring about them. The word care has the letter C and the word R in it. See who they are, right? Tell the truth about who you are. Help them see things for what they really are and make a sound decision. So therefore, you've got to tell the truth. The way is the truth and the life. A righteous life. Prudence is said to be a fountain of life, right? Diligent, scrambling to do what's right. And they're even fuming right now to make it hard for me to speak, but you should see that I'm right. Point number 4. What is the difference between the moral order and the nonsense we have now? The nonsense we have now is derived from nonsensical philosophy and culture. It created a nonsensical system, and the philosophies that come as a result of the system of the people who the system doesn't screen out. Okay, even Isaiah 57, which comes from the Bible, in the Old Testament, it says the righteous are taken away to be spared from evil. So what's the evil in this world? It's that Roman system that killed Jesus, the white philosophies that killed Jesus. Okay? When the Jews said, hey, we want to crucify him. They said, well, I don't want to do that. I don't really want to do that. And they said, well, my philosophy now tells me I should do that. Okay. So we're going to crucify him. That's how it went. And that's just one kind of example from a story that we see echoed in reality time and time again in various forms. White culture is more than just white denial, white fragility, white privilege, okay, ill-gotten gains, white guilt, which is also bad for white people and everyone else. They keep doing things that are wrong and feeling guilty about it. They're suffering, everyone else is suffering. So again, we have to identify the problem. 2, we have to see that this system comes from white culture. 3, if you care about God, your family, your friends, your people, etc., you want this truth to be known. The word care has the word letter C and the word R in it. Number 4, a moral order is superior to an order derived from mere white culture, mere human rules, customs, and traditions, mere white rules, white customs, and white traditions. When I finally will be screened out, it will be as a result of white culture dominating your hearts and souls and your offspring's future instead of God, and you'll have definitively made that decision. Now, if I was to say to you, the Irish people and Italians and Germans aren't white, they are those things instead, you'd say, that's foolish. And so it is with Jews, right? Jews, white Jews, are a group of people from white culture. They are white. They were in Europe for many, many years, hundreds and hundreds of years. And if they weren't white already, they turned white, right? And so they became white. Just like various groups of people in the Roman Empire and Greece, they became white. All throughout Europe, really. And now they're considered white. They have white culture, what have you. So white culture, which is really where we see the gay agenda being propounded, is white, Jewish, and LGBT. So we live on a planet of white supremacy where white, Jewish, and LGBT people run things, and lo and behold, if it's a white racist planet, then the people who would come in next would be Asians, right? Because of Europe and Asia being merged together, Eurasia. And they would probably be white-skinned Asians. And again, I don't necessarily favor dark-skinned Asians over white-skinned Asians, but this is the situation, right? China comes in next, right? So it's white, Jew, LGBT, then Asians, and they're white-skinned Asians. This is the fact of the matter. And when people play stupid about this, it dumbs them down. When you don't try your best to live in reality and to tell the truth, your brain function suffers. For example, I want you all to, do an experiment after you finish this video. Of course, make sure you take notes, what have you. I want you all to try to walk around. Try to play basketball while you pretend that you're playing hockey. You see what I'm saying? Your brain will be confused. It's like, wait a second, are you playing basketball or hockey? It's doublethink. You're disassociating. It will disrupt your brain activity and the electrical activity of your brain. Everything will be affected. The processes, the neurotransmitters, how they're operating, what they're doing, the different components of your brain, your frontal lobe, it'll all be affected. Because you believe that you're playing hockey, or trying to get yourself to believe. Your brain's like, hey man, what are you doing? Why are you trying to get yourself to believe you're playing hockey when you're playing basketball? And you see, when they try to make it harder for me to talk, they try to cause that to occur. They try to make it so that I'm indecisive. But what you're doing is worse than indecisiveness and someone trying to, put thoughts in your head, or someone trying to fume you or whatever, trying to mess up your brain activity. What you're doing is worse than that. I still see the way. I'm still walking the way of righteousness along the path of justice, but you all aren't. Because you're trying to convince yourself that white culture is magically something that is compatible with moral precision or being a decent person. It is not. And again, culture is not the same as race. The world is led astray by Satan, and Satan's main culture is white culture. Now, who would take offense to this? White supremacists. They're assholes. Rich corporate guys. Hey, man, my governing class family, man, we're instrumental in this. They're assholes. Which white people would not take offense? Maybe some hippies, maybe a homeless person, a poorer person, a more well-meaning person who identifies as a Christian. So you're telling me that white supremacy to you is siding with a bunch of assholes, messing up your brain function, and going to fucking hell as a group. That's what you want for your society. That's what you want for your people. That's what you envision. That's your vision for the white race. It's fucking pathetic. And for those of you who doubt that I should be able to say this, I'm part white. My vision is greater than the governing classes. Not just for black people or mulatto people, but for all people, including white people. If only mankind would make it a moral Christmas by rallying to me instead of a white Christmas with their empty bullshit human rules, customs, traditions, and bullshit trajectory. Thank you.